Deadpool beard joins the fight. Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily Reddit content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact. Look it up, cause it's totally science. What did I get you for this lovely Christmas Eve? Well, it is r/Neckbeard Stories. As if you didn't know. It's just the best gift that I can give. And I'll be honest, you'll probably get the same thing on Christmas Day, and it is only slightly better than a pair of socks. Fresh socks. When I was 12, I hated getting socks. Now that I'm 30, I'm like, hell yeah, socks. Let's do this. So, without any further delay, let's go ahead and jump into some nice non-Christmas related neckbeards. My neckbeard roommate in Germany. Oh, that's kind of Christmassy, isn't it? We're going to visit Sinterklaas. Maybe that's Dutch. Anyways, this is the story of a former roommate I had several years ago. I live in Germany, so I apologize in advance for any mistakes that I made while writing this story. English is not my first language. This neckbeard's name was Hans, and I lived with him for 1 year after I graduated college. He and I shared an apartment with an anonymous third person. I had always thought that Hans was a strange man, but I never tried to put him into any kind of category. In reading stories from this subreddit, though, I realized that Hans was most definitely a neckbeard. When I first met Hans, nothing particularly strange jumped out at me. He was about average height and chubby, but nowhere near as fat as the biggest neckbeards seem to often get. That's because he's German, not American. Unlike the stereotype of neckbeards, Hans didn't stink. In fact, his hygiene was perfectly fine. Granted, Europe places less emphasis on personal hygiene than America does. So maybe by American standards, Hans would be considered stinky. He did dress in some neckbeardy clothes, but I'll talk more about that later. What Hans lacked in neckbeardy appearance, though, he more than made up for with his actions and personality. Which really, that's what matters most, OP. It's the beard on the inside that counts. Hans spent most of his free time playing video games, often World of Warcraft. On the weekends, he often played WoW for 15 hours a day. Hans also watched a lot of anime, sometimes in his room and sometimes on the TV in the living room with the volume turned way up. This was done with the ever-present unhealthy foods in his hands. On the topic of unhealthy foods, let me tell you a little bit about what Hans ate. While American neckbeards like Doritos and Mountain Dew, Hans preferred more German foods. But not just pretzels and schnitzels and sauerkraut and beer. Hans loved Crunch chips, which are German chips flavored with paprika. They taste similar to barbecued potato chips. He also ate a lot of Kinder Brand chocolate. In place of Mountain Dew, Hans drank Spezi, which is a German soda, which tastes like a mix of cola and orange flavor. Interesting. When Hans' mother came to visit, which was often, she would bring Lebkuchen, which are German cookies similar to gingerbread. Come to think of it, I don't think Hans ever ate a fruit or a vegetable for the entire year that I knew him. He did sometimes make pasta or quesadillas in the kitchen, but he would always sit in front of the TV and eat them as he watched anime. I'm sure you can imagine the horrific bowel movements this man generated as a result of this diet, and you would be correct. Hans easily spent 30 to 40 minutes on the toilet every morning. At least he's regular, I guess. Hans worked in an electronics store during the time that I knew him. He certainly knew a lot about televisions, computers, and gaming system, but Hans thought of himself as far more intelligent than he actually was, as most beardos do. He liked to talk about topics which he knew very little about. I'm pretty sure most of Hans's information on these topics just came from Wikipedia, as he would often have Wikipedia open on his computer. Have you seen the bro explaining meme? That's about what a conversation with Hans felt like. He truly did fit the stereotypes of neckbeards saying, "Actually," followed by almost certainly false information. Now Hans considers himself a special forces soldier, despite having zero training in any form of fighting style. Hans liked to get those synthetic police pants with the big pockets. I'm not sure what you'd call them in English, but you get the idea. Cargo pants? He also wore black leather boots, which looked like he bought them online for less than $30. Knowing him, he probably did. Hans also liked Star Wars and video game shirts, which, combined with the pants and boots, made for a very unfashionable combination. The outfit was of course completed with one of Hans's hats. No, not a fedora. As a matter of fact, his favorite was his Dallas Cowboys hat, which was weird because he never had any interest in American football, not to mention the fact that we live an entire ocean away from Texas. Hans always carried a knife, too. I always have my pocket knife with me, but while mine is small and discreet, Hans's was ugly, huge, and looked like it cost about $10. No matter what was going on, that big stupid knife was always clipped in Hans's pants. When Hans wasn't playing WoW or defiling the toilet with his ungodly stools, he could sometimes be found in the living room practicing his fighting skills. Along with WoW, one of the games Hans liked was Metal Gear Solid, and he said he based his fighting moves on what the main character, Solid Snake, did in the game. Why this was the game he chose, I have no idea. But while Snake was a large, strong man who knew how to fight, Hans was a chubby man-child who had all the skill and coordination of a drunken bear. I would see him swing his fists around at an imaginary assailant, then after a minute or two he would get out of breath and sit down to drink a cup of spezi. Oh, I love this. Once he regained his breath, Hans would get back up and practice his knife fighting skills. This consisted of basically more of the same. He would stand there and wave his knife around to mimic fighting his imaginary assailant. The only good thing was that German laws prevented Hans from owning any guns. If this had happened, I'm pretty sure we would have ended up with the roof, floor, or walls getting accidentally ventilated with bullet holes. Hans was also a proud atheist. Euphoric, in fact. A number of people in Germany are atheists, but few match Hans's interest in talking about the subject, or his complete scorn for those who believe religion. Hans had a shelf of extremely atheist books, which he would proudly discuss with anyone who would listen, which was nobody. Hans called religious people Teletubby Zurückwinker, which roughly translates as one who waves back to Teletubbies. Why? Because the baby's in the sun or something? This is apparently used to describe a person who's stupid or childish. I've lived in Germany my whole life, and Hans was the first person that I've heard to use this term. It does seem to be quite popular on the internet, though. I assure you, it sounds nearly as ridiculous in German as it does in English. He would also go on rants to nobody in particular about how
there being a god is impossible because it would violate the laws of thermodynamics.
Not that Hans knew anything about thermodynamics, but that wouldn't stop him from talking about it. For all Hans's weirdness, though, he mostly just kept to himself and didn't bother me. As far as I know, he didn't stalk women or talk with them in any creepy way, as many neckbeards seem to do. He was certainly a strange man, but overall he was pretty harmless. Hans wasn't nearly as bad a roommate as many neckbeards would be. He didn't stink and never really made a mess or anything like that. The more I think about it, the more I realize that I would be willing to have Hans as a roommate again. Well, anyways, thanks for reading my story, and I apologize again for any mistakes I've made while writing this. I saw like 0 mistakes in your post, OP. Your English is truly impeccable. I can only wish to master a second language the way you have. Dang. Great post and great insight into the mind of a German neckbeard. I mean, I'm pretty sure, 90% sure, that neckbeards are like an American phenomena, so to have a tale of one from Germany it's different, but the same. You know what I mean? Perhaps neckbeards have been all around us, in every culture, for all of time, but it's only since we have the internet that we're able to hold this sort of magnifying glass up to them and share our experiences, which is really quite cool to me. I think Hans is sort of weird to categorize as a neckbeard because he doesn't show any signs of like entitlement or lashing out at others for his shortcoming, apart from the religious thing. I guess that's a pretty big check on the neckbeard bingo list. But at least he largely kept to himself, aside from that. You know, not stalking women, that's a good first step. I'll take it. Haven't been to Germany, do have some German roots. I'd like to visit someday, but I'll need to learn a bit more of the language before I venture over there. And I can only hope to master it like half as well, a tenth as well as OP has mastered English. So, great post. I really like this. It definitely puts to shame the translated German from my PokeBeard video, which people didn't seem to enjoy very much. So, I apologize for that. This is definitely a better pick. And with all that said, we're gonna move on. The Gaybeard Assault. Oh boy. Trigger warning, molestation, and attempted rape. Dramatis personae. What? OP, Gaybeard, that's GB, Security Guard, SG, and Security Guard 2, SG2. If this is read by Vinci, Tim Tam Tom, or ReddX, hey, you chaps are heckin' awesome. You're heckin' awesome too, OP. Thanks for shouting me out and posting this story. I'm excited to see what it holds. So, back when I was 18, shortly before I came out as gay, before I admitted to myself that I was non-binary, I was presumed male, I took up an offer of clubbing with friends. Not sure why, given that I don't dance. I'm also not very social, and I'm claustrophobic. Joy of joys. Maybe not a good choice of pastimes. But anyways, we arrive at the LGBT nightclub, the only one in the area. This was back in 2004 when things were less open to us folk, even in a student city. We get in, chat, and drink for a while, then the dance floor opens. We all flood in, the music is blasting out. I'm sitting on the stairs, some lesbians, bless them, trying to get me to dance. From asking to trying to yank me off the stairs, they were very kind. And then along comes Gaybeard. He sits down beside me. He's wearing a black My Little Pony, ill-fitting t-shirt, tight jeans, and a trilby. He smells pretty bad, and his breath was way worse. And so, the encounter begins. Gaybeard.
Not dancing?
OP. Nope. Gaybeard.
Oh, how come? Looks fun up there.
I don't dance. I don't know why I'm here, really.
So, you wouldn't dance with me?
Sorry, but no.
Come on, it'll be a great time.
No, I don't dance.
Okay, I tried. I might get a drink. Want one? On me?
No thanks.
Fine then. Wanna fuck?
What? Absolutely not. Why the hell would you ask me that?
We're at a nightclub?
Yeah, a nightclub, not a brothel. Oh, it got me good. Bloody hell.
Look, I was just asking.
That's the problem. You asked such a question.
Fucking hell, what's your problem?
My problem is being asked highly inappropriate questions like that. Not all of us are promiscuous. It's exactly this behavior that gives us a bad rep with the straights.
Jesus, calm down. I'm gonna get a drink. Bye.
Bye. About 10 minutes passes. I decide to check out what's upstairs. I heard there was a VIP bar or some such. So I climb the stairs and sure enough, there's a little lounge at one end of the corridor. Down the other end are a load of doors, and I'm intrigued. So I go to look. I knock on a door and hearing no answer, I peek in. It's really dark with a dim red light. Next thing I know, I'm flying through the door having been pushed. I stumble and get up off the floor, dusting myself off. Turning around, the door has been closed, and Gaybeard is looking at me. He rushes me, pushes me up against a wall, forcefully kisses me, and puts his hand down my pants, feeling around. Jesus. Psychopath. I push him off, feeling sick, shocked, and extremely anxious. He falls over, and I scream for help. He gets back up, pushes me back up against the wall with a hand clamped over my mouth. The door opens, and a security guard looks in. Security guard? What's going on? I heard calling. Gaybeard.
Oh, nothing. We're doing a scene.
Oh, okay. I'll be leaving you to it then. OP screaming through Gaybeard's meaty hand. Get him off me! Help me! Please fucking help me! I'd been shouting all along. However, he'd pushed down harder on my mouth. I had to use all my effort to really scream the moment that he sounded like he was leaving. Security guard. Excuse me, but please take your hands off of him for a moment. Gaybeard.
It's all good. Like I said, we're doing a scene. He's not said his safe word.
Security guard. I won't ask again. Remove your hands from him. Gaybeard releases me, and slipping to the floor, I shout out that he is trying to assault me. The security guard steps between us, standing over me. Security guard. This guy isn't with you? OP between deep breaths. No. I only met him briefly downstairs. I'm here with my friends. I don't have a boyfriend. Security guard then radios for help and the police. Gaybeard then tries to run, only to be grabbed by the scruff of the neck by security guard. Security guard 2 arrives within a minute. Security guard 2. What's going on?
Looks like we have a rapist here. Fucking hell, the police are on the way. Get him downstairs. I'll look after this one.
Security guard 2 then marches Gaybeard away, and security guard crouches down beside me. He assures me that everything's okay and that the police will be here soon. He then asks if I want to press charges, and I say yes. Great answer, OP. Always press charges. He then goes to get me a cola. He returns, cola in hand, and stays with me until the police are there, sitting down with me, arm around me, and giving me a hug. He asked if I was okay, and I agreed, needing some comforting to be honest. I'm shaken. This was my first experience clubbing, and this happens. The police arrive about 30 minutes after, and they take a statement from me and ask if I need medical attention. I decline, saying that I just want to get home. I'm crying now, as it's really settling in what had happened. I feel awful. I feel used. I feel like all I'm worth is being passed around and discarded. I knew situations like this were bad, but I didn't expect these horrendous feelings after. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. The police take me home and ensure that I get in the house, and explain to my parents that I had been attacked and would need a few days to recuperate, glossing over certain details, as I'd asked them not to tell exactly what had happened to me. I've not gotten over this to this day. We attended court later on, and Gaybeard was prosecuted, given time in prison, and put on the sex offenders register for 5 years. I've never heard from him since, thankfully. I haven't attended a nightclub since, out of fear, and I'm even more scared of being out in public, too. So, even though I'm out as non-binary now, if you're a male or assigned male at birth and you get assaulted, please come forward. It's no laughing matter, and rapists need to be brought to justice. I know it's scary, and I know the feeling that nobody will believe you because you're a male, but it does happen, and you're not alone, and you shouldn't have to suffer quietly. Whew, that is a heavy second story, man. I'll tell you what. But overall, I do think that this is an important thing to talk about, even if it gets me demonetized, because male rape definitely does happen, and it's not only in prison, and it's not only, dude on dude. It is possible for a woman to rape a man. You shouldn't need to feel any sort of shame in coming forward with something like that. It's always a horrible thing when stuff like this happens. Even just something slight, like having your ass grabbed or something like that, which has happened to me a couple of times. It definitely leaves scars, and it's a sad thing, The person doing the assaulting is just trying to get their rocks off, and they'll get out of there and probably never think of it again, but the person being assaulted is probably going to end up thinking about it every day for the rest of their lives. Now, I don't think about getting my ass grabbed every single day, but that memory didn't roll to the forefront of my brain until I read this story, but I might have repressed it a little bit. And I think especially if something goes this far, then it's basically inevitable, OP definitely needs to seek therapy and find some professional help in getting over all this because, while it's great to share it on Reddit and, have people validate and confirm your experiences, there's a lot of personal work that goes along with getting over something like this. I definitely appreciate you opening up and sharing, OP. It certainly brings up a topic that should be discussed more, and it's kind of a taboo thing. People are like, oh, men don't get raped. Yes, they definitely do. And whether it's being done by a neckbeard or a fit dude or a fit lady or a leg beard, it doesn't matter. Non-consent is non-consent, and it needs to be taken seriously. I'm really glad you pushed charges. I'm really glad that dude had to do some jail time. And who knows, maybe he'll find a nice boyfriend in jail. Oh, Lord. That was a heavy one, but it needed to be said, so we'll roll right along, if you're still with me, into the next story. Dating Deadpool beard. Trigger warning, suicide baiting and assault. We got a lot of trigger warnings tonight. That's what I got you for Christmas. Trigger warnings. A whole box full of them. I've been absolutely obsessed with reading and watching YouTube videos about this subreddit for the past 4 months, and I cannot get enough. You and me both, bro. Makes me want to have my own encounter with a neckbeard. And then it hit me. I'd already been way too close for comfort with one. Introducing OP, Eden, E for short. I was about 16 at the time, about 5'4", a little chubby, busty, and shy. Short hair, not terrible looking, too nice for my own good, and I also sucked at saying no and standing up for myself. I loved drawing, watching a lot of anime at the time, and playing video games, which definitely made me look like a succulent ham on Christmas Eve. Hey, holiday related. To any smelly lard of a human being that came into contact with me, but especially neckbeards. At the time, I was going to a private Catholic school that sucked you dry, not only of money, but also your spirit and motivation. Seriously, fuck that school. I'd just gotten dumped and was very desperate for some form of affection. My only safe haven was Instagram, where I could post about my hobbies and art and selfies. One day I got a direct message from somebody I didn't recognize. I wish I had saved the messages, but I blocked him on just about everything. But I can still paraphrase. Deadpool beard joins the fight. DPB for short. Now, Deadpool beard wasn't your average katana-wielding, fedora-tipping fat fuck with a superiority complex. He was tall, lanky, smelled okay, I guess, and the only feature that some might find even slightly unnerving was a cleft lip that had been fixed as a baby. Deadpool beard.
Hey, I saw some art on your profile and I must say, you're very talented.
Now, I didn't get many compliments of my art on Instagram, mostly because I didn't post a lot of it, so I was tickled pink by the sudden praise of my handiwork. OP, aw, hey, thanks a lot, man, I try my best. Deadpool beard.
Don't mention it. I try my hand at drawing too, but it's not nearly as good as yours.
Don't say that. Everyone has the right to express themselves through art, even if it's not professionally. Can I see some of your art? He then proceeded to send me drawings of various Marvel characters, and of course, Deadpool, poorly traced and colored with colored pencils. I'm not one to judge drawing skills, but tracing other people's work is detestable. I didn't want to be rude, so I just humored his work and asked him who his favorite Marvel character was, and he replied hastily that the chimichanga-loving Spider-Man knockoff was his favorite. The merc with the mouth, Deadpool. Now don't get me wrong, I love Deadpool in all of his weird and quirky glory, but Deadpool beard damn near turned liking Deadpool into a personality trait, which is probably the biggest problem with Deadpool fanboys. Deadpool lanyard always hanging out of his pocket, Deadpool hoodie, Deadpool keychain hanging off the rearview mirror of his car, Deadpool sticker in the rear window. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. OP, hey, I like Deadpool too. I can't wait to see Deadpool 2. Haha, get it? Which was coming out in about a week or so. I saw this as a simple remark of endearment to his beloved pepperoni-skinned man. He saw this as an opportunity to ask
my lady out to a date. A Deadpool date.
Deadpool beard.
Would you like to see it with me? I already got a ticket, but I could buy another one for you.
At this point, I didn't know he lived anywhere near me, so I was a bit confused about how he already knew that I was in the area without even asking me. I figured he asked a friend of mine or something, because I later found out we had a mutual friend. OP, where do you even live? Deadpool beard.
Oh, I live in so-and-so county, in the same state that you live in.
And it was the same county that I lived in also. I was a bit weirded out, but not too much, because I live in a smallish area where everyone knows each other outside the city. It wasn't too hard to ask around and find someone who knows anything about any certain person. Red flag number 1 that stupid 16-year-old me did not see. OP, oh, well, that actually sounds kinda nice. If you don't mind, I'd love to come. Which was true, because around that time some of my friend group had graduated and left the squad looking kinda sparse, so I was happy to find one more to add. We exchanged Snapchats at some point, and talking to him became a daily thing, and I eventually grew to enjoy his company. He had a similar sense of humor to me, and he also played some video games with me too. A week seemed to fly by, and the dawn of the final day came upon us. The final day of my sanity, that is. The Deadpool movie was set to screen around 4 p.m. that day, so I spent the day doing some chores and playing on my Nintendo Switch until it was time to get ready. I took a shower, dressed up in a hoodie and jeans, and had him pick me up from my house. I waited inside my garage for him to pull up, while my dad waited with me to meet him. Good dad. A small gray Kia covered in Deadpool merch and a Deadpool Funko Pop glued to his rearview window dash pulled up at the end of our driveway, and out came our knight in shining armor. Well, actually, he was wearing a pink hoodie and cargo pants, but that's besides the point. This is the first time I actually saw him in person, and I was a little thrown off by the way his lips contorted slightly, but it didn't really bother me, I guess. He had pierced ears, and his left eyebrow was pierced as well. He met my dad and managed to behave himself pretty well all the way until we got into the room that our movie was playing in. It turns out, since he bought my ticket days after he bought his, our seats were on opposite sides of the room. My seat was in the front row, and his was towards the back. I was a little annoyed and disappointed because I didn't want to sit next to people that I didn't know, and I think he picked up on this. Deadpool Beard.
Hey, OP, I'm sorry about your seat. If you'd like, we could share my seat so you can sit near me.
Are the sirens not going off yet? Now we went to one of those fancy movie theaters with the slightly larger than average chairs, and they leaned back like lounge chairs so it could just barely fit 2 people. OP, sure, why not? Thanks. I'll give you 1,000 reasons why not. I thought he was just trying to make the situation more comfortable for me, but it would become very clear very quickly that he had ulterior motives. We sat down in the seat, and it is uncomfortably close. My thigh is squished into his, and I don't have much wiggle room. I decided to just suck it up and try to enjoy the movie, which Deadpool Beard decided was unacceptable, and he needed to do something to woo his date. Which, by the way, we never specified this as a date. He put his arm around my shoulder and pulled me closer, and I sort of freezed up. I have issues when someone or something makes me uncomfortable. I sort of just freeze up and wait for whatever it is to stop or go away. It's something that I've worked on since, but it was really bad back then. I fidget my hands a little bit, and he must have took that as a sign to comfort Milady in distress by grabbing my hand and holding it. His hands were as cold as ice, but somehow still sweaty. Ugh, gross. This went on until the movie ended and the credits began rolling. I usually stretch after a movie because I have bad joints, genetic issues, FML, so I try to stand up, but he grabs my wrist and pulls me back down into the seat and looks me in the eyes. Deadpool Beard.
You look really nice today, OP. I didn't know it was possible for someone to look this astonishing in such comfortable clothing.
Now, I didn't know whether to take that as a compliment or an insult, so I brushed it off and blushed with a tinge of cringe in my brain. OP, thanks. You look nice too. Then he leaned in to what I think was an attempt at kissing me, but I shot out of the seat, stretching very dramatically and yawned. Very nervously and with a shaky voice, I asked, "Hey, I'm really hungry. Do you think we could grab a bite to eat?" And this thankfully bought me time to make it until 8 o'clock, which was the time I needed to be home by. Visibly a little hurt from my rejection of his advances, he replies,
Well, sure. I guess I could take you to the Chick-fil-A that's in front of my job.
Relieved to have my body free from his bony thigh shackles, I was immediately captured again as we walked out of the theater by his clammy hand grabbing mine. We walk back to the car and he opens the door for me, and I cringed visibly, but but at this point I just wanted to go home. On the drive to Chick-fil-A, he begins talking about how much
he feels so alone all the time, and he's been dealing with his depression and mental health a lot recently.
Now, I'm someone who will listen to literally anyone vent about their mental health issues because I know exactly what he was going through as I was in a similar situation, but the way he went about talking about it to me made it seem like he was trying to guilt trip me. Deadpool Beard.
It feels like everyone I've ever cared about leaves me for someone better. I don't understand. I try my hardest to be the best I can be, but it never seems like enough.
Now, this guy had an awful inferiority complex, and I had one at the time too, but my god, this guy was on a whole nother level. OP, listen, you shouldn't place your self-worth into how other people view you. Just try and be as genuine of a person as you can be and cherish those that are still in your life. He might have taken that last part a bit too seriously, because as I finished my sentence, he grabbed my hand again and caressed it with his thumb. His clammy thumb. We arrived at the Chick-fil-A, and he pulled out a Deadpool wallet and ordered chicken nuggets for me, and he got a sandwich. We pulled into a parking space overlooking a cornfield and began to eat. He continued talking.
You know, I never really felt so connected with someone. I wish I could do more to show it to you.
The way he said this was mildly creepy, but I can't tell if he meant to entail anything or not. But knowing beards, it's usually not PG. Besides, this isn't the most appropriate thing to say to someone that you've known for a grand total of 2 weeks. OP, you've already done enough for me today. I had a nice time. Deadpool beard.
Well, no, I meant more special, like...
And then he proceeded to touch my face with his grease-covered chicken fingers. And push his lips onto mine. I froze up and panicked, not knowing what to do. Disgusted at not only his greasy little mitts touching my face, but his lips kissing me so greedily. He was an awful kisser, nearly drooling down my chin as he did so. Oh, I hate it. He pulled away and looked into my eyes once more. He pulled my hair out of my face and said,
You're amazing. I think I'd probably kill myself if you ever left me. Will you be my girlfriend?
Daddy, chill.
I was very easily manipulated back then, and I didn't know what to do. I silently cut my losses and began to panic, as I had a rough past with suicide. This guy was nice enough to take me to a theater and pay for my food. He bought me dinner. The least I can do is give him a chance, right? Wrong. But I still did it. I gave this inconsiderate, personal space-invading weirdo a chance. And for about 6 months, he was the #1 cause of stress in my life. This was a very long-winded story, and I apologize, but there is actually more. A lot more. But I need to go do some stuff. If any of you would like to see more of Deadpool Beard, you're in luck. I'll be updating the story within the month. In the meantime, Merry Christmas, and I hope you can enjoy it at least a little bit. Oh god, the scene where you describe him kissing you, that just takes the cringe crown for this episode, for sure. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. I assume he was around your age, at least I hope so, Jesus. There's a big difference between, like, you know, 2 16-year-olds fumbling around together trying to figure it out, or a 20-year-old man and a 16-year-old basically being taken advantage of. So for my own personal sanity, I'm just going to assume that you're both 16, and it's possibly kind of about as normal as it gets, maybe. Obviously, the dude's like super weird and manipulative and probably not a person that you want to be around, but hey, makes for a hell of a story. I am totally looking forward to more Deadpool Beard. I'll put it in the thumbnail so people know where to look. I don't know who needs to hear this, possibly OP from back then. It's too late for her, but if you're a 16-year-old out there listening to this, feeling in the same situation, just know you don't owe him anything. He can take you to a movie, he can buy you dinner, he could buy you a freaking car. You don't owe him anything. Not a kiss, not a hug, definitely not a relationship. And I think that's a super important thing to keep in mind. Whether it is an actual date, or just I want to go see this movie so I went with you kind of date. And I know OP said it's not like a date. They never specified it as that. Well, you know, probably specify. You'd say, is this a date? And he'd be like,
Hell yeah, it is.
and you'd be like, oh, I don't want to go then. I'll just go hang out with my dad instead. I mean, if I was this girl's father, as soon as I saw a Funko Pop in that kid's car, I'd be like, you're not going anywhere with my daughter.
You get out of my driveway right now.
It's not that I dislike Deadpool either, but come on, Funko Pops? Even in 2004, that's a warning sign of somebody with no taste. All right, now I'm dropping firebombs. I'm going to get somebody in the comments that's like, hey, I like Funko Pops. It's just jokes, guys. It's just jokes. All right, we got one more story, and then I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully, this makes for quite a beefy Neckbeard episode. Neckbeard takes Pokemon way too seriously, as they tend to do. We all remember Pokemon Go, right?
What the hell is even that?
A lot of people would consider it to be a fad that kind of died out, but in reality, it's doing better than it ever has. A ton of new content has been added, such as the main catalyst for this story, legendary raids. The point of raids is that you go to a local Pokemon gym and you battle a specific powered-up Pokemon, and this gives you rewards as well as a chance to catch that Pokemon. While legendary raids are essentially the same thing, except they're incredibly hard, i.e. legendary. So you need around 5 people or more to successfully pull off a legendary raid. By now you're probably wondering where I'm going with this. Basically, as an easier way to coordinate plans for legendary raids, our town has a Pokemon Go Discord server, where we all find a raid and let the server know where it is, so we can all meet up and help each other beat it. And that is the setting for today's story. On this particular day, I was driving over to our town's park next to our local fire station where the gym was, to do a Giratina raid. I got out of the car and started saying hi to everyone. There were about 5 or 6 people there, mostly being people that I knew somewhat, or at least recognized. But there was this one person that I hadn't seen before. He was a tall and somewhat overweight dude, sporting a ponytail and a beard. I can't remember exactly what it looked like, but it seemed neckbeardy enough. As well as wearing all black with a black denim vest and some band shirt underneath, which I also can't remember the name of. The cherry on top is that every 15 seconds he would hit this huge vape that he had with him and just blow giant ass clouds everywhere. This was about 1.5 years ago as I'm writing this, and I had only just re-downloaded the game a few months prior after I stopped playing it back in 2016 because there was nothing to do. I only got it after my friends started telling me about all this cool new stuff that was added, so I had to check it out. So because of this, I was much lower level than everyone else. I can't remember exactly what level I was, maybe around 32 or so, with the level cap being 40. Everyone else, including him, was at max level, and when you enter the lobby you can see everyone's level. Once we started it up, the guy, I can't remember his name so we'll just call him PokeBeard, called me out and said,
What the fuck? A level 30? Did you bring a level 30 here?
Everyone else looked confused. He just kept going on, saying,
A level 30 will just hold us back.
Alice, an Asian woman who I raid with sometimes and is just the sweetest thing, said cheerfully, Hey now, that's not very nice. Don't forget, the game says to be kind and respectful of everyone around you. That's one of those things that pop up when you open the game. Loading tips. One of the guys there, who I didn't know as well, told a joke, something along the lines of, yeah, if you read the terms of service, it totally tells you that, followed by everyone giving a brief chuckle at the joke. PokeBeard went on, saying,
Actually, I have read the terms of service.
The guy's smile turned into a serious look. Wait, for real, he asked?
Yeah,
PokeBeard said.
I've read it many times, and it doesn't say anything about being nice to people anywhere in there.
He would pause every once in a while to hit his vape, making himself look even more douchey. What a miracle. We started the raid and began the battle. Everyone was having a good time, but then PokeBeard started making fun of my lower level Pokemon, saying stuff like,
Ew, why are you using that Pokemon? That's so bad.
I was kinda hurt by this, as I didn't have very many strong Pokemon at the time, but the few strong ones I did have wouldn't really help with the raid. After the raid, we got our chance to catch Giratina. I actually got super lucky, and my Giratina turned out to be a shiny. I was super excited, and everyone was being friendly and congratulating me for it. But of course, frickin' PokeBeard had to butt in, saying,
Actually, I already have 3 shinies.
Everyone just ignored him at this point, as they should. After the raid and we had all caught our Pokemon, the people that hadn't added everyone else's friends yet started sending friend requests. If you do raids with people on your friends list, you get some bonus rewards, so it's a good idea to raid with people that you're in-game friends with. I tried to be friendly to PokeBeard and asked if he could add me. His username was like Mr. Black Darkness or something.
Darknesses!
Because of course it is. He looked super annoyed and just said,
Fine, I'll add you.
I started to add him to my list, but then he says,
But if you don't send me gifts, I'm gonna remove you and block you.
that was what did it for me. I added him anyways, said my goodbyes, and thanked everyone who showed up, and I drove off. I ended up removing PokeBeard pretty much as soon as I added him, and I haven't seen him since, and I really hope that I don't, ever again. Well, he didn't ruin the game for me as a whole. From that point on, it made me reluctant to add people in-game, mainly because I just didn't want to be rude with anyone, or have them remove me when I don't send gifts or something. Thankfully, due to the lockdown, I can raid remotely from afar, so that way I don't have to risk seeing him in person. But if I do, I'll be sure to stand at least 6 feet. Not just to social distance, but to keep away from PokeBeard and his vape cloud of douchebaggery. God, Pokemon Go, man. I remember when this came out, I downloaded Pokemon Go on day 1, and it was full of bugs. It was a nightmare. You'd get stuck on the loading screen. The freaking game would crash every hour or two. But I lived right across the street from a park. We could hit the Pokestop from my house, so I was balling super hard, even though I didn't play long enough to get to max level. I think I'm level 28 or so. So this would only have intensified PokeBeard's rage. But at the time I was playing pretty hardcore. I was ahead of the curve, before people maxed it out and data mined it and optimized the fun out of the game. I really do like the social component to Pokemon Go. And luckily I never met anyone who was overtly just a douchebag for no reason. I think largely because we were all new together. I can probably think of some candidates out of the people that I knew when the game first started that I'm yeah, this is PokeBeard now. But as it stood, we had our little crew of yellows and repping Team Instinct, capturing them gyms and stuff. And actually, the apartment that I had at the time was right next to Nicktoons Studio in Burbank, so they had lure modules going basically 24/7. Super sick for the EXP grind, and then I moved to the Philippines and kind of fell out of it. But if you live in Burbank and you go to that park on Olive, it was an Abernest. It probably still is. You could get a sick Alakazam or something like that. I'm not shocked that this dude has read the terms of service. He probably, sitting on the toilet, can't catch any Pokemon because he's out of incense, so he's just read the terms of service. I'd like to get back into Pokemon Go, but yeah, I just don't have time for it. I'm busy being a dad, playing Nintendo Switch, making the YouTube videos, and we are so close to taking this YouTube thing full time. And if you'd like to help the dream come true just that little bit faster, I sincerely hope that you will like, comment, and or subscribe. Hit the bell notification button, if you would, good sirs and ladies. Not my-ladies, just ladies. We've also got a link swarm down in the description. If you'd like to throw some money my way, we got PayPal for the one-time donations. We got Patreon for the recurring donations. If you'd like to reach out, be a little more social with me, Twitter, Discord, Facebook, my other channel, those are all good ways to do so. And of course, what would a ReddX episode be if I did not thank all of my gorgeous, wonderful, generous, beautiful patrons? We have Damon Darkstar, Lady Nix, Crimson Albedo, Dot Nathan, Robert Waits, Just Austin, Pope Squid, Rebecca H, Cider Drinker, and the big boy, Barlos Bugo. If you can support, that is definitely appreciated. I would highly encourage it. But if you can't at the moment, then don't worry about it. I just appreciate you spending part of your day with me here on ReddX. But anyways, friends, please keep yourself safe out there. Wash your hands as many times as you need to. Take some time out today. Do something that you enjoy. That is equally important because you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely deserve it. So I will see you in the next one, friends. And until then, bye-bye.